Hi, it's Nitya with Nitya Living, and I'm popping in today to say that I was sad to see that Naomi Judd passed away over the weekend. And, you know, for many of us, we grew up seeing the Judds playing big famous duo of country music. Anyway, I wanted to dive in and see what was happening with her astrology chart to see if there were any clues. It seems to be suggested that this was a mental health crisis of sorts and possible maybe a suicide situation. Very sad, so tragic. I don't know if it's that I'm getting older, but people in their 70s doesn't seem like that's the age for a person to die when so many people are living well into their 80s and 90s now. So when I looked at her chart, it's very unusual, not surprising. She, across the branches, she is yin wood, yin earth, yin wood. I mean, it's almost all wood, all yin, all across the top, which is like flowers and grass. And the animals, she's got 3 roosters and a cow. So this woman was born to crow, to be heard, to sing her song. She was flashy and, shiny and beautiful and stylish, center stage. I mean, that's a rooster, totally a rooster. But because there is such a dominance, of yin wood and yin metal, it's almost like not quite a lawnmower, maybe more like hedge trimmers to her flowers and her grass. It's like there's that conflict throughout her whole chart because it's 3 of her 4 pillars are yin wood over yin metal. So that's conflict, right? And the month is kind of an anomaly, being yin earth on top of a cow, which is yin earth with a little water and a little metal. So you already are figuring out probably the element that's missing entirely is fire. And the water that's there is teeny. I mean, it's a dash of water. This is a greatly imbalanced chart. Fortunately, she's strong in her wood energy, but it is embattled by a heavy, almost 50% presence of metal energy. It's interesting that she has no fire because acting, singing, performing arts, creative arts, anything in that art realm, with the exception of photography and sculpture, is really fire related. So I think in some ways it's interesting that she started out in nursing, because nursing would have been another energetic drain on her, being that the healthcare industry is an earth related business. So having more earth feeding her metal would not have been a good fit for her at all. The fire at least gives her some replacement of that needed fire element. And I'm sure in some ways her career as a singer was both a cathartic and healing in that she's created more balance in her chart. But at the same time, it is so hard to replace an element that is entirely missing. And, the fact that she wrote books, which is a wood element, which is more directly herself. This is someone that, and she also had was a talk show host. And that actually speaks a little bit more because somebody that's in communications, that's water. And what she really needed in her life was something that was both water and wood. So somebody that is like a writer and also a communicator that has some kind of a role in the world. Yeah. So, communication, speaking, engagements, things like that. Anyway, so when we look at her daughters, this is yin metal. It is just like with her romantic partners, very contentious, possibly abusive, very demanding relationship, very contentious, very contentious. So mental health is highlighted here when she's got no fire at all. And without fire, your mental health is really in crisis. And so the fact that she suffered with depression and anxiety throughout her life, not surprising at all. And I would imagine, again, that dualism of performing being both like something that she loved, something she craved, something she actually needed. But because that absence of fire is so prevalent in her chart, she can't reconcile the mental health crisis that she's having at the same time. And those two can't be reconciled. It's really a tragedy. So, something else to share with you is the fact that when certain animals in your Bazi astrology, when you have more than one, as in this case of having 3 roosters, this is called a self-punishment. This is somebody who has a really a challenged relationship with themselves. It's kind of like the Western astrology. They talk about that with Gemini people, that they sometimes wrestle with themselves. This is somebody who punished herself, possibly with a lot of negative self-talk. When you look at the fact that I went back, in 1991, she was diagnosed with hepatitis. You remember seeing her sweet face, all puffy. And that's the liver. Hepatitis is related to the liver, which is the wood element in Chinese medicine. And we look at what her luck cycle was at that time, and it was yang wood over yang metal. It is actually an inflamed luck cycle, giving the yang version of what she was born with, this metal wood conflicted relationship. And it created a semi-metal trio. Also in 1991 was the year of the sheep, which caused a harm to her ox in her month. And this just obliterated whatever water she had. So whatever support she had was gone. And so that infusion of heavy metal, it's kind of like that last straw. Ping, can't take it anymore. The liver gives in. The metal is too strong. So then we come to where we are now. And in 2018, she shifted into a luck cycle that created a full metal trio in her chart. And this was yin metal fire luck cycle, because the snake is yang fire. And again, here's contention, right? You've got metal and fire. They don't get along. Fire actually is going to come after the metal. Metal being so dominant in her chart, it's a funky time. And that metal is just so coming after her. I mean, I would imagine that most of her life she felt like she was under attack. And that might have felt like it was coming from maybe relationships. Maybe it was imagined situations and imagined interactions with people. Again, mental health. And that self-punishment. This train of thoughts, negative thoughts that we trench in so deeply that over time, over decades, over a lifetime, those old patterns of thinking just cannot be budged. And the day of her death, we've got the Yang water tiger year, and we have the month of Yang wood dragon, which is Yang earth, and the day that she died, April 30th, was Yin water ox. Yeah. So, all of this being said, it is not surprising the way that this ended, and it's kind of almost surprising that it didn't happen earlier. But that being said, it's kind of like how many things can pile up against a person's life before it snaps. It's one thing too much. And what was that one thing? 2022, Tiger year, her luck cycle being a snake, the Yin Se, tiger snake punishment, which signals accidents, mishaps, illness, and in this case, death. And this punishment, and you remember, we're only February, March, 3 months in. She made it 3 months into this year. That's how long her body could handle, her mental health could handle this added punishment. And the punishment of tiger and snake greatly weakens the wood self. And that wood self that's been under attack by all this metal her whole life, without any fire, with hardly any water to support her, gave up. And that's really where, there is no way to predict death. Life is an amazing journey, and there are so many moments in our lives where if the right conditions align, it can be to the end of us. And yet, ultimately, I do see a continuum, that we do have an arc in our life, and I can sometimes see how someone is going to die, though I would never give that information out. Who wants to know that? And so when I see that, I recognize that in that arc, again, given life's random circumstances, accidents happen. Choice is also part of that. The choices that we make. This kind of a chart is sad for me because this is somebody that I would have given so much advice to as to how to replace not only the fire, but also the water. And actually, water more than anything would have helped her because water drains metal. And it would have given her support. I would have told her to, when you look at trying to balance someone's astrology, I look at the colors they wear. I look at the direction their home faces, the direction their bedroom is in, and the direction their bed faces, like your head points to when you're sleeping. I look at the foods that you're eating to suggest that we do not want to be eating metal foods at all. We want to avoid anything metal related, and we want to lean towards that those elements that we're trying to infuse and bolster up, right? I would have put her on a diet, a life diet of wood and water with a little bit of fire. And I would have put her in a warm climate near water with tropical trees or lush woods, beautiful gardens all around her. So anyway, that's my deep dive into Miss Judd's chart. And thanks for checking in, and I welcome your comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Be well.